What's up, guys? We're gonna continue our uh, review of this new card set for the Hidden Hope. Um, where do we leave off at? Wind.
Yeah, so we had just finished Wind. So
All
let's
right,
actually
so
get.
let's get started on Earth.
Yeah. So Vossler, which actually was one of the earlier spoilers that we had. So he's an 8K, 4 CP forward. Job captain, if that's important to you captain fiends out there. So when Vossler enters the field, you may search for a Job King, add it to your hand. When Vossler attacks during this turn, the cost required to cast your next forward is reduced by 2. So I think we mentioned it in the previous video, but you are definitely the earth water guru here. So what what does Vossler mean for earth in general?
Uh, eh, I guess it's pretty good. I guess the Mono Earth Monsters deck. I guess this would be a good card for it because when Vossler enters the field, you may search for one Job King.
Mm-hmm.
You can get your Leo.
Mm-hmm.
You can get your epitaphs, your Kolka.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, then when he attacks, so you'll attack, and then he doesn't have haste. So, but the next turn you attack, then you can play your next card forward, only forward, not backups,
Mm-hmm.
at a reduced cost.
Yeah.
And it cannot become zero. Sorry, Leo's one, so you play something else.
Yeah. But what I think is interesting about this is if you are in a position to where you can't free cast 11 CP Mont, he at least makes it
Yeah.
that much closer, right?
hmm
He could at least get it because Mont's reduced. It's reduced by 1 for each Earth character.
Yeah, and then you also got what is it? Ingus? Is it Ingus? Is the one that's reduced by each backup. So
Yeah,
if you have only three backups or
yeah.
two, then you can reduce it by another two and pay
Mm-hmm.
one.
So yeah, Vossler
I think
does
it's
add a
five,
little bit
six.
of
No, it's six.
yeah, because 5 backups makes him a 1 CP, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, he definitely makes Earth a little bit more speedy, I guess, in a way. I mean, usually Earth is chocked full of like 4 CP, 8K, 9K range forwards. So I mean, I
yeah,
think it's a good consistency booster for Earth in general. But I mean, it's just
yeah,
in anything, right? Because it's when he attacks, the cost required to cast your next forward. So I mean, it could be anything if you're coupling with Earth and Wind, so to speak. I mean, making Noctis a literal 2 drop is just absurd, right? I mean, that would be really
yeah.
good. Or, you know, Earth Water. I mean, you're making your Glaciella 1 cost. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's
That's always
repeatable.
always good.
Yeah, it's repeatable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's no downside to that. This video is sponsored by Nerd Labs. At Nerd Labs, we carry all kinds of Final Fantasy TCG singles. If we don't have the card, it's probably because, I don't know, somebody's already bought it. We carry everything from promos all the way from Opus 1 to Opus 21. Every single day, prices are updated to be 10% cheaper than whatever is TCG player low. So get your singles while you can. Back to the video. So then we
What
have
category is he?
12.
Category 12?
Yeah, he is category 12.
Okay, so you're Sky Pirates.
Mm-hmm.
You're Fran.
Yep.
Play it off of Fran.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then the next turn you can search your Job King. I don't know what king you would play in that, but then the next turn he attacks. Your friend attacks. You play something else for free. He attacks. You play something at a reduced cost. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's very helpful. I mean, imagine free playing him Well, how could you give him haste? Is there a way that we can give him haste?
I don't know about in that deck. I don't think you would give him haste on the unless you were playing like a fire earth and running Bosch and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You can run goblins and stuff and give him haste.
Huh. Yeah, maybe that's trying to do a little too much, but
Yeah, for one card, definitely.
yeah, yeah. Anyways, moving on to X Death, our wonderful X Death, our Dissidia Dead man. So backup 4 CP Wizard. When X Death enters the field, choose a dull forward. Just remove it from the game. Just get rid of it. So first
That's pretty
thing,
good.
yeah, first thing that comes to mind is Earth Ice Control. I think that's pretty strong. I mean, and it's an EX burst, right? So I think that's the biggest deal. Is oh, you're going to be attacking? Well, if you just swing with that, whatever you swing with that lightning, yeah, remove it from the game.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty good to hit off an EX burst, especially.
yeah, not bad.
Yeah. Carbuncle. So 3 CP category 8 summon. Choose one character you control, dull it. Till the end of the turn it gains, this character cannot be broken, and this character cannot be chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities. If the CP paid to cast Carbuncle was produced with backups, also draw one card. Well, only produced by backups, rather. So I find this card
Yeah,
pretty interesting because this kind of does what Mira does, but slightly better, arguably, right? Like, I mean, I know that the
yeah,
Mira breaking herself and then, like looping it with zombie to, do that whole thing. But this is interesting because it not only chooses a character and it can't be broken, but then it also can't be chosen, right? So, like, the only big way
yeah,
that I have to get around the zombie just blank my combat play is to either bounce it or dull it and freeze it, right?
yeah.
So I feel like this is just doing what Mira does at a slightly higher cost, but for a better overall payoff.
The only problem is you got to duel it.
Oh, yeah, I did read that part and didn't realize that, right?
Yeah, it's basically like Titan, the one Titan that duel forward it cannot be broken this turn or something.
Yeah, from
But
Opus 1.
yeah, but you get the draw card. So if you're able to get the draw card, this costs one
Yeah, so that's,
CP versus I think that's two.
yeah. So, I mean, like, are we gonna just, like, play the long game here? Are we just gonna, like, force our opponent to play into Neo X Death and then we just play this to protect Neo? Like, is there a realm where we make this like super stall deck where we just run Carbuncle, Titan, Unsaganashi? I mean, do we just run all these like protection pieces and just play the long game?
Possibly. That would be a pretty crazy deck.
That would be a
Just
brutally,
to not be able to remove the biggest threat.
yeah, that would be like painful. I don't know if it'd even be fun to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think protection, I mean, it's what Earth does, so it's perfectly fine with that.
Yeah.
So very interesting here. We have a Type 0 forward. Kator Bashtar, I'm assuming is his pronunciation there. So 4 CP, 8K. When he enters the field, choose a forward of power 4,000 or less in your break zone and play it onto the field. Its auto ability will not trigger. Put one backup into the break zone for an action ability, and then choose one forward. It gains 2K. I like the first ability. I'm not a big fan of the second.
The it will not trigger or the
The put it back
put
up.
one back up into the
I don't.
graveyard.
I don't actually mind the auto ability not triggering because there's probably a world where we play this in some sort of, I don't know, maybe like a monk deck or something where it's important to have like like an actual number of monks on the field. Um, it's also choose one forward. The weird part is that it is dictating that it has to be 4,000 CP or less. I mean, sorry, 4,000 power or less. So let me
Yeah.
see really quick. Just throwing some ideas out here. Um, Sophie, right?
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. Like, I'm trying to honestly just think of things that don't care about auto abilities. And I know Galuf doesn't fit into this category, but Galuf doesn't, Opus 18 Galuf doesn't have an auto ability, right? He just has the action ability to gain power. So if there's forwards in Earth, or again, in any freaking element, you could just use this guy to get them back to the field.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, actually, no, never mind. I was going to say, I wonder if he combos with Guido, because that could be really cool. But yeah, I mean, what do you think of this guy?
I think it's okay. I think somebody will find a way to make it work. To find something that won't need to have that auto ability triggered. Um, but I don't see myself playing this. If the auto ability would trigger, I definitely would be playing it in monsters. I'd be playing this and bringing back Realm
Mm-hmm.
to just use the play a two and a one cost monster.
Oh, that's true. Because
Uh,
is she 4,000? She's 4,000 power.
yeah.
Oh, that's rough.
Uh, I mean, I guess you could argue that you could play that, bring back Realm, and Magic Pot it into some another realm, something maybe,
Yeah, that seems rather convoluted
and
as a
then
combo, though.
yeah, but
Hmm.
with that auto ability not triggering, I don't think I see myself playing it or something.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard sell.
But yeah, but somebody would find a way to abuse that if the auto ability did. So it's probably for best.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We
So
have a
Gabrance.
2 CP Judge, also category 12. Gabrinth here, when he enters the field, choose a backup in your break zone. If you have received 1 point of damage, or sorry, one more, received more points. Jesus, I can't read. If you have received more points of damage than your opponent, add it to your hand. So, I remember when this guy was spoiled, a lot of people were talking about doing Bosch Gabrinth combo, where basically you turn one, ditch for Gabrinth, or sorry, for Bosch, take the point of damage, search for whatever, and then basically play the Gabrinth, grab whatever you ditched for, um, what's his name back? Bosch? I don't know why I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah.
So, like, there's some interesting implications to kind of help recur some stuff. But, I mean, even in like a late game type of situation, if you've received more points of damage, it's kind of like an anti. I don't want to say anti aggro, but it's kind of like a countermeasure to help you like get back on your feet from aggro, right?
Hmm.
I don't
Yeah.
I don't personally see myself
Not a
playing
bad
it.
card.
Yeah, it's just I know it reads good. So I know that it's a decent card.
Yeah.
Next we have Guido.
Ito.
So I'm actually quite excited for this boy. Um, and
Yes.
can I just give a personal note to Hobby Japan, because you are giving us all of these category 5 characters right here. So you have X-Death, you have Gito, we have Gilgamesh. Can we not get like a category 5 searcher, please? You can make it Sildra. I don't care if you make it Sildra. Take the whole water aspect out of it. Find a way to curve it so that it's not as powerful. I'm fine with that, but please let me search in category 5 easier. It'd be so much nicer. Anyways, so Gito is a 2 CP Sage. He cannot attack or block with 10,000 power, so that's actually pretty hefty. At the end of each of your turns, place a knowledge counter on Gito. If a character you controlled has been put from the field into the breaks on this turn, you can place 3 Gito counters on him instead. And then at any point in time, you can just remove 3 knowledge counters to draw 2 cards. And that is not once per turn. Now, of course,
Yes.
the kicker here is that he only gets the counters at the end of your turn. So you do have to essentially wait to add the counters, and then it's not like you can like spam counters on him, right?
Yes.
But in a world where, let's just say you're playing Cloud Pod, you end up putting this guy onto the field, you play Cloud, you wait a turn, he gets a counter. Next turn, you Cloud Pod something for something else. You start to gain a little bit of advantage. Boom. Pass turn. All right, he's now got 4 counters. Next turn comes around. So on turn 3, you basically could activate your first draw 2 cards. And then every subsequent turn from there, as long as you can Cloud Pod something into something else, you're essentially drawing 2 extra cards every turn. I really like that. I think that is very interesting. And truthfully, I think this guy is a decent candidate for the Retainers Category 7 Avalanche deck that I've been working on. I think I might lean a little heavier into the Cloud Pod idea and include this guy as well. I think that'll be kind of interesting.
Yeah. So my thoughts on Gito.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Gito. I think my deck is super tight in the space, but I may find enough room to play 2 of this guy. Just for the simple fact that I don't know if you've seen my deck on the channel. It's monsters with Magipot Realm. I've always played it. I've enjoyed playing it. So Magic Pot, whatever you're gonna do, grab another realm. You grab 2 more monsters. If he's out there, you get the 3 counters. Then the next turn, you're gonna Magic Pot again. You get another 3 counters. You're gonna draw 2. You're gonna draw so much off of that deck, and plus so much after you get the 2 and the 1 cost monster out there. And on Tome Berries, you'll draw a card off of that, and after you get the 5 monsters, blah 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 blah. Realm will bounce some, and you can draw a card as well. It's just gonna be amazing. And then also, in your turn, you can pitch the Mira to make something unbreakable, and then in the end phase, you'll get your 3 counters. This is gonna make my deck a lot better, I think. And my deck is all about board wipes. You got Hecaton, which is what I usually play 2 to 3 of. Probably gonna be 3. And this will live through Hecaton.
Yeah.
That's the one you go through the most. It will live through Titan. It'll lose to Shantoto if I play Shantoto. And let's see, Matoya. Matoya will break it, and Neo X Death will break it. So, or not Neo X Death won't, but Matoya will break all your opponent's characters. Actually, I think your opponent's forwards, but I think this deck, this is going to help my deck a lot. It's going to speed it up for sure.
Yeah, Matoya just straight up breaks all
When you do
fours.
so, break all fours.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll lose to that. But if you can cast 3 hecatons, and even if you do lose something, you'll get your 3 counters, and you'll draw 2 cards. So it's not bad. Not bad at all. And this is a perfect candidate for mono earth monsters if you're playing that with the mirrors and all that it does there. And then also your mono earth monsters is going to be playing because it's character. So mono earth monsters is going to be playing backups that break themselves. Also, you're going to be playing monsters that'll crack themselves to deal 8k damage or stop auto abilities. So Guido will constantly be getting his 3 knowledge counters on it.
Yeah, and you literally can cash them in whenever he's at risk of dying, right? Like you don't have to
Yeah.
cash them in until you're ready, which I think is really cool.
I do believe that this probably should have said you may only remove 3 knowledge counters in your turn. So you gain them at the end of your turn, but you can only do it. So then you would have to discard the 2 cards you draw if you overdraw. Because I think this is going to be abused. I don't know,
Yeah, I mean,
but it could be.
I for sure see this being abusable, but it just depends on
Yeah.
how. I think it's got a pretty high ceiling. One
Yeah.
thing that I will double check with clarification because I'm pretty sure he should see himself if you like Matoya, right? You Matoya yourself, and then you play another Guido. If a character you control has been put into the from the field into the break zone this turn, should still see that happen if a new Guido is played after Matoya. Because if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken, and I will get clarification, but it's a it's a thing that has happened, right? It's kind of like casting a card. If you've cast 3 or more, it doesn't matter how many times you cast the Dane. If you've cast 3 or more, that's the way at least I'm thinking about it. So that's another option. He's only 2 CP anyways. You Matoya, you pay to break all characters, and then just cash in all these draws, and then out of all the draws that you have, you discard 1 card to play another Guido just to gain 3 more counters at the end of that turn. I mean, that
Yeah.
doesn't sound bad, right?
Yeah. This is definitely going to be a 3 of in my mono earth monsters deck for sure.
Yeah, I really like that. Moving on to Gilgamesh. So in the previous video, we talked about Indiku and how Gilgamesh, when he enters, you can pay 2 to play him onto the field. When he gets played onto the field, he activates 3 backups. Da 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 da. So this is kind of the counterpart to that, right? So 3 CP 7K, pretty much on curve. If you control 5 or more backups, Gilgamesh gains 2K and cannot be broken by opposing summons or abilities that don't deal damage. Then, when Gilgamesh enters the field or attacks, you may pay 2 earth and 1 colorless. When you do so, choose 1 forward or monster, break it. So the important thing here to me, of course, is or attacks, right? So this is a reoccurring effect. Every single turn, I just literally, when you say pass turn, I draw 2 cards, I stand up 3 backups, and I move to attack phase. I mean, whatever you play, I can just break it. And then in main phase 2, I'll decide what I want to do. I think that's pretty powerful. Now, going along with the Indiku, right? Or a kid, I don't remember this kid's name. The kid, no, that can't be right. Yeah. I never played Final Fantasy V, so don't make fun of me. Indiku. That's still not it. Jesus. This guy. Enkidu. Okay, whatever. So when he enters the field, choose up 3 backups you control and activate them. So that's kind of what lets you pay for the 3. When a card named Gilgamesh enters the field, you may pay 2. When you do so, play in Kidu onto the field. So from the break zone, he literally becomes a phoenix and plays himself onto the field as long as you play a Gilgamesh. So it's kind of literally set up to where you tap 3 for Gilgamesh, right? And because you need 5 or more backups to gain this effect here, you can just pay the 2, play the Kiddu back onto the field, and then you've got 3 more backups to now pay for this ability. Beings that you'd have to give Gilgamesh haste to be able to activate it that first turn, it at least allows you to pay it for when he enters, then you can do it reoccurring every turn after when he starts attacking. So I think that's pretty cool. Again, we're in category 5, and category 5 needs help, but what do you think?
I believe trying to get off the monsters thing, but the mono earth monsters is very quick to get 5 backups.
Yeah.
So that puts him at 9K and can't be broken by opposing summons and abilities that don't deal damage. So 9K body, pretty good, pretty big. Uh, Also, if you're on 5 backups, it's not going to be hard to pay the 3 CP when he attacks.
Yeah.
So, and it's gonna be 9K, so you'll be running monsters, and it's Armon, whatever. I think it's him that he can't come out unless you have a forward of 9K, I believe. I'm not sure, something like that.
All right.
Uh,
You'd have
so
to
it'll
show
help
me.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, card database, Earth monsters.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about now.
The one that breaks something upon entry.
Uh,
Aramon. Anyways, so that being said, he is very playable in Mono Earth Monsters. Maybe a one of, maybe more.
this
Just a good
guy.
source of removal.
So until the end of the turn, he becomes a forward with 8K. You can only use the ability if you control a forward of 9,000 or more, and only once per turn. Gotcha.
So that's why you run the Genova Synthesis and those cards
Yeah.
in that
Okay.
deck.
Interesting.
And, and that'll fit right in.
Yeah. So next we have Glaive, one of the Warrior of Darknesses that we get. Warriors of Darkness? Yeah, we'll go that way. 5 CP 9K, so kind of in curve there. He has Brave and he has an EX Burst. So when Glaive is put from the field to the break zone, choose one Warrior of Darkness other than Glaive in your break zone and add it to your hand. As an EX Burst, that's good. I mean, decent. And then also the job Warrior of Darkness forwards other than Glaive you control gain 1,000 power and Brave as well. So I personally have never been a big Warrior of Darkness player. I don't truthfully know super too much about them. Warrior of Darkness. But apparently they were pretty fun to play just in general. I have seen in the North American Discord server some mixed reviews, and we'll kind of talk about Noct whenever we get to that point. But you can see, obviously, in 2022, they pushed for 4 of these Warrior of Darknesses, and then we've kind of had some sprinkling in 19, and then some in 12, some in 8. So it seems like they truthfully print just these 4 Warrior of Darknesses kind of just as a package, except for this one freaking Noct for some reason. So
Yeah.
I don't have much to say about him. We'll talk definitely a lot more about Warrior of Darkness with Noct here in a second, but I mean, I guess if you're in Warrior of Darkness already, this guy's a pretty self-explanatory pick. EX Burst, Recursion, he gives everybody plus 1K and Brave. So, I mean, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much play he'll see.
Yeah.
Pretty cool looking card, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Next we
other than
have
that, yeah.
a Sandworm. So 5 CP Worm Monster,
Worm.
possibly a 9K, because actually during your turn he also becomes a forward with 9K. When Sandworm is put from the field into the break zone, choose one forward, break it. That's actually not bad. When Sandworm attacks, choose a forward it gains. If possible, this forward must block till the end of the turn. So, what do you think about the monster?
I think it's a pretty high cost for 5. And when Sandworm is put from the field into the break zone, choose one forward, break it. If your opponent has no break forwards, you must choose your own, I guess. Uh,
Oh yeah,
that would suck.
yeah,
They would just smash Sandworm and then get rid of something else that you have if they have enough field at that point.
yeah,
I do like the fact that he could be used offensively, kind of. So when Sandworm attacks, choose one forward. It gains if possible. This forward must block. You can ram into something and break it, force it to take the damage and break it if it's a big forward.
Well, so like I think
But
to me, you crash it into something that's already 9K, so they trade, and then you just break something else, right?
yeah, that makes pretty good sense there. But I don't see you running this card.
So this is not going in the monster deck.
No,
Then we're not going
definitely
to
not.
talk about it anymore. Next
That
from
Guido though.
yeah, I definitely want to mess around with Guido. So next we've got G Assassin. It is a standard unit. When G Assassin enters field, choose a duel forward. If you control 2 or more drop standard unit backups, break it. So kind of in line with the other standard unit forwards that we've seen. I will again call out it is category 7, so do your thing, Cloud Pod, if you must. But yeah,
Yeah,
pretty standard. Get it?
yeah, definitely.
Next we have, and I again am gonna butcher this, but I'm gonna go with Siege Hard, Psy Hard.
Sigurd.
Sigurd, yeah, that's a possibility. 3 CP 7K. Sworn 6 of Palladia, so I do like the Sworn 6. Very cool to see these characters come back since what, Opus 10? I think it was the last time we saw these. So when he enters the field, you may duel 4 active backups that you control. Very hefty cost there. So that literally makes him 7 CP. When you do so, choose one forward of 6 or less in your break zone played onto the field. That's why. And then for the measly cost of a crystal, until the end of the turn, he gains 3K and Brave. So, what do you think about this guy?
Not too much. It can be good, I guess, in some decks.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it being played a lot, but I guess they're printing all these cards that are requiring you to play a lot of backups, and hopefully you can get those backups.
Yeah.
It will be a good payoff if you do.
Yeah.
Um,
I
Very
mean,
good payoff.
I'm imagining, like, most optimally, maybe we ditch the 6 cost or less that we're wanting to play. We, dole 4 active backups, and then we just play the card we ditched. So, in theory, he only costed 6 himself. So,
Yeah,
or potentially even, what, 5? Because you tap 1, ditch 1 that you're going to play, you dole 4 more, you bring it back. So, in theory, you paid 5 to cast 9 CP potentially. I mean, that's not horrible
yeah,
by any means.
yeah. Not bad.
Yeah, that just probably not going to
Uh,
see much play, truthfully.
nah, probably not. I would say no.
Yeah. Next, we have
Summoner.
Summoner, a standard unit backup. So when Summoner enters the field, you can pay 2. When you do so, choose one summon in your break zone, add it to your hand. So potentially you're paying 4 to recur a summon. And then you can tap one, pay one, tap him, discard an earth card, put him into the break zone to do the same old thing that we have basically. That's the cost, at least, associated with all these. To choose an earth summon in the break zone, cast it anytime you can normally cast this turn, and its cost is reduced by 3. Actually, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So. You choose an earth summon in your break zone. It doesn't move zones. It just, you get to cast it. I don't hate that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not bad.
I mean, all right, so let's say you pay 2 for this guy, right? And then at some point you pay the 1, you discard an earth card, and you tap him, and then put him in the break zone. So effectively, you're getting rid of a recurring resource, and you're paying 4, right? Because you have to pay 1, ditch a card, so that's 2 CP from your hand, plus you have to tap him and put him in the break zone. So you're paying 4 to basically cast an earth summon, and it's reduced by 3. So economically, it's not that great, but making Hecaton a 2 cost,
Yeah.
that's not horrible. I mean,
Casting
making
Miss Dragon.
Miss Dragon for free. I mean, that's also not bad. The new Carbuncle we just talked about, not bad. Huh. Although the Carbuncle wouldn't be able to draw you a card because no CP was paid. But either way, I mean, I like it more than any of the other ones we've read so far.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't know that I'll be using it, but it's okay.
Yeah. Moving on to Noct. So here is the Warrior of Darkness that we kind of alluded to. 9 CP, 9K, right? Hefty cost. But when he enters the field, search for up to 3 Job Warrior of Darkness with different names and add them to your hand. At the beginning of your attack phase, during each of your turns, you may play a Job Warrior of Darkness of cost 5 or less from your hand onto the field. And then he does have a beautiful special for just a copy of himself, an earth and a lightning, to choose a forward break it. Very clean, very simple. So, I personally think this makes Warrior of Darkness semi-playable. From what I have been seeing is that if you are starved for Noct, you kind of get like just all these. I mean, we saw the 5 cost here, 3 cost, 3 cost. I mean, these aren't that bad, but what, we can recur 1 here. So do we pay 5 CP and then turn around and try to play 9 CP there? That seems hefty. There's really no way that we're, searching it? How do we get this Noct as fast as possible?
Gabrance.
Yeah, Gabrance wouldn't be bad.
Gabrance, Kolka. Depends on if you're playing Earth Water, but it doesn't look like you're going to be playing Earth Water. You're going to be playing Earth Lightning.
Yeah, that's kind of the direction they're wanting you to go here.
Yeah. I'm not sure what all lightning searchers there are for boards, but you're looking at about Polka and Gabrance.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it has potential for sure. It carries the same sort of concept as the Squall does, where at the beginning of the attack phase, basically, just play a card. I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I just don't know that I would play it, is the thing.
Yeah, probably not.
9
It'd be a cool little deck
CP.
to build.
Yeah, it definitely would be like an interesting side deck.
Yeah.
Something for locals, I feel like. I don't know. 9 CP's hefty.
Yes. Very.
I mean, could we reduce it somehow? How could we reduce it? Does Mont does Mont grab anything, or is it something specific like stipulated?
It has to be 6 or less.
Oh well, then that's just very unfortunate. Yeah, see, I don't know how we play that then. I don't know how we play it for cheap, at least. I don't know. We might come back to that one. Next, we have 2 CP Prish. So when Prish is chosen by a summoner ability, she gains 2k until the end of the turn. When Prish deals damage to your opponent, choose one character in your break zone, add it to your hand. I mean, just some interesting things that come to the top of my head. It's when she's chosen by a summoner ability, not of your opponent's or your own. So you could technically put this in like Earth Water with Sanctuary Keeper and just kind of have a basically what an 8k at that point because Sanctuary Keeper makes it gain 1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Uh,
know. That's about it,
Doing the
really.
point of damage out. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a great card.
Yeah. I mean, it's another card named Prish for the Prish lovers that, pull a Prish from here, do this with that, and move it there, and blah, blah, blah monks. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. Next, we have Balo. So, this, from my understanding, is the actual only Earth Knight backup that we have. When Balo enters the field, choose an Earth character in your break zone, add it to your hand. So, very nice. Tap him, put him into the break zone, choose a forward. It gains 2k until the end of the turn. So, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the action ability there, but the auto ability, Earth character, is the important part. So that's actually really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel
Yep.
like this does
Mhm.
anything for you?
Um, I think it probably not, because to be put in like the Mono Earth monsters again, uh, you would have to be able to search this, and I don't necessarily know that it's searchable. Running backups in that would be mostly the FC, the what is it, um, FCC,
Yeah, the
C,
FFCC. Yeah.
FFCC. Uh, you want to play those because they search into one another, the kings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, this is probably not going to be one of them. The only thing you're going to hit this off of is minor, so probably not going to run this.
Yeah, I
But,
go ahead.
but I was just saying, adding the Earth character is nice,
Yeah, I
but
was.
I just don't feel that it's good enough.
Yeah, that's the only thing I really like about it. And truthfully, I wouldn't have hated it if it was 4 CP and an EX burst.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's a little bit more versatile. But yeah,
Wow.
I don't know that. I don't know too many situations that I would want to play it. But
Yeah.
moving on to Ramza. So if you control a job knight, the cost required to cast Ramza is reduced by 2, which he is a 4 CP 8k to begin with, so potentially a 2 CP if you control a job knight, and that is not job knight forward, job knight backup, that is just a job knight. And then if a 4 you control has attacked this turn, the cost required to cast him is reduced by 2 again. So neither of those stipulate cannot be 0, which is good. So you could literally free play Ramza in any night deck, essentially.
Yeah.
Now, why would I play this Ramza over any of the other ones, especially in a night deck? Nah, I don't know, but
Uh,
eh,
I like the Theorhythm cards, but it doesn't seem like they're printing that many great ones in this set to me.
okay,
Theorhythm. I mean, they're just okay. Most of them, I think, in this set,
yeah,
which most of the time they are, anyways.
yeah. All right, so let's move over to our next one then. Lich. For each Earth backup you control, he gains 1,000, so he's potentially a 10k. But then when Lich enters the field, you choose a backup in your break zone and add it to your hand.
Not that great.
Yeah, I was going to say the silence speaks volumes there. I mean, again, even if this was an EX burst, I wouldn't hate it. It's very bleh. I mean, I just don't. I don't know that it'll see any sort of play.
Probably not.
Our last of the Earth is a 1 CP Earth backup, and it is the standard unit FFCC. When Litly enters the field, Lil T, Jesus. Look at the top card of your deck, place it at the bottom if you would like. So, it's just the standard rotation that we've had.
Yeah.
All right. So now moving into Lightning. And this is where I get a little bit more excited again, because we're going to go back and talk about some of the Category 8 stuff. Now, Lightning seems to be, or I guess Category 8 in general seems to be going the direction. I don't know if we mentioned it in the most recent video, but a lot of people are starting to compare it to Lightsworn from Yu-Gi-Oh! And that is not a bad assessment, truthfully. So essentially,
Yeah.
starting out with Ultimecia here. So the cards in your break zone cannot be removed by opponent summons or abilities. You'll know why that's important as we keep going through these. She then has an enter the field ability. If there are 15 or more cards in your break zone, basically you choose a forward, gain control of it. That's rough. And again,
Yes.
when we get into the other cards, you'll kind of understand why the 15 or more cards in your break zone matters. Most of them have some sort of effect to mill yourself. And I'm truthfully working on a couple of different Category 8 builds at the moment where I think you could potentially play this Ultimecia, have Squall, swing Squall, bring down Opus 6 Renoa, flicker the Ultimecia, essentially just taking two things from your opponent, possibly in one turn.
Rough.
Yeah, that's rough, right? There's also the possibility where you play like you could play definitely more of a slower control game, and you play Griever and this Ultimecia with 6 CP Opus 10, I believe it is, the Une, and you just play a whole bunch of low-costed summons where you can just flicker Ultimecia basically every turn. Like, God, it'd be so obnoxious, but I truthfully think that is kind of like abusing that effect as best as possible.
Yeah, for sure.
Being that she's 5 CP 9K, I mean, she's definitely got the workings for the other Ultimecia that we just got in Opus 21. I don't think she's horrible. And she also comes along with the special to choose a forward. It loses 10K. That's just bonkers, right?
Yeah.
When we talk about Adia here in a minute, she definitely has some synergies there, which I think are really interesting. But if you don't stop me, I'm going to continue to talk about Category 8. So what do you think about her?
I think she's gonna be good. I don't know how the deck's going to run, but I think you would run 3 of this just for the break zone being protected. Because now people that are running Earth are going to be running Mist Dragon. So that gives you a 9 CP, not or 9,000 power forward that they have to deal with before they can deal with your break zone. Even if you play it before. And then also you have the S fodder. I mean, that's good.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
definitely going to be an obnoxious card for sure. And if you don't start misdragging their break zone earlier, just like water, Lena's gonna do its thing. This is gonna do its thing.
Yeah.
So if you see lightning, you're gonna, or you see category 8, you've got to misdrag before Ultimecia comes down.
Yeah.
So
So let's talk about Alba so we can talk about Adia quicker. So Alba goes along with the Warrior of Darkness stuff. She is a 3CP 7k forward. She does have an EX burst of when she enters the field due to an ability. Choose a 4/4 unless your opponent controls and break it. Obviously, that's meant to be free played off of the Noct that we talked about earlier. Since she enters due to an ability, you just get to choose a 4/4 less and break it. That's perfectly fine. I enjoy that effect. When she enters the field, choose a job Warrior of Darkness forward. It gains haste until the end of the turn. That's also not horrible because she could essentially choose herself. So,
yeah,
I mean, I don't hate that. I think overall that's a good synergistic card with the Warrior of Darkness job that we have right now.
yeah, for sure. Because with knocked, you enter battle phase, then play this onto the field and give it haste.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, pretty cool.
yeah. Now on to Adia. So it's crazy to me that they didn't put the clause that they have with other cards where you can't control Adia and Ultimecia at the same time. For lore, like Final Fantasy VIII, when you play through the game, Ultimecia and Adia are sort of kind of the same person. It gets really muddy, and this isn't the video to really dig deep into it, but like they're basically the same person. Ultimecia is technically the witch that's like controlling everything behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz style, but it's a very interesting. Like, it wouldn't have upset me one bit if they put that line on either of these cards, because for lore reasons, I get it. But the fact that they didn't include it makes it bonkers to me because these two cards play so well into each other. So not only when Adia enters the field are you going to search for a category 8 forward, potentially Ultimecia or potentially any of the other ones we've talked about so far. But then you can put the top 2 cards of your break zone the top 2 cards of your deck into the break zone to choose a forward. It loses 4k, right? But if there's 10 or more cards in your break zone, it loses 8k till the end of the turn. And then you can only use that once per turn. Perfectly fine with that. In a perfect world, you could put 2 cards into the break zone. They can't be removed. You could potentially make it lose 8k from Adia, and then you could just pitch an Ultimecia to fire off the special to potentially get rid of something that's 18k, right? Anything relevant that's at like 18k in the last couple of sets?
Stenian.
There you go. I mean, that's to me, that's obviously very niche, very narrow, but I mean, there's not a lot you can do for an Estinian when he gets fucking dropped on the floor, right? You just gotta take 2 attacks.
Just gotta mod it.
Yeah, you just gotta. You gonna have you either have the answer or you don't. And I truthfully think that this is a very narrow situation, but very cool that we have the ability to just get rid of Estinian.
Yeah, pretty cool.
So I definitely think that. Yeah, we'll talk more about Category 8 in a little bit. So let's take a break from Cat 8. Odin. So choose a forward or monster of cost 3 or 4. Break it. If CP paid to cast Odin was only produced by backups, also draw a card. So I like this Odin. Mainly because it's monster hate. I'm just going to give it to you straight.
Yeah, it is monster hate, but at the same time, there's not many monster decks that are playing monsters of cost 3 and 4. Uh, that's the only problem with that.
That is also
Most
fair.
monsters that are all very decent are 2 and 1.
Hmm.
You do have the 3 and 4s, but most of those are removable and they don't get played often.
Yeah, not nearly as often since
So
Realm has that condition. Or that stipulation, rather.
yeah. And now,
Yeah,
if this said choose one forward of cost 3 or 4, or one monster of cost 1 or 2, that would be a different story.
very different story.
But
Moving
still a
on.
cool card. Good.
Yeah. I mean, overall, it's great. I mean, it also. Well, if we really want to dig into this, Lightning always has these really weird restrictions, right? Like, it's nice that they're
Hmm.
giving us the option to choose a forward or a monster, but why does it have to be 3 or 4? Like, why couldn't it have been 3 or less? A forward of 3 or less, a monster of 4 or less. Shit. A forward of 2 or less, and a monster of 3 or less. And that would have been a totally different card.
Yeah, for sure.
Because
Definitely.
this does nothing against 13, right? We get to break what? Vanille and Hope?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it does help against Rug. It helps against Rufus. Um, and I guess it does hit a lot of what 7 CP Wool has. Well,
Yeah,
I
that's
guess it's
true.
I guess it's pretty okay. I
Yeah.
don't know. It just seems like they make lightning cards very narrow sometimes.
Yeah,
Like they
for
want it to be
sure.
so specific. But moving on to Garuda, category 3, and they had to throw that into her name. So 5 CP, 8K, a little hefty for the 8K there, but when Garuda enters the field, select a number. Deal 8K to all the forwards of the same cost as the selected number opponent controls. I do not hate that.
Yeah.
That's not
So
actually that
at
bad.
5 CP.
Yeah, it is a little hefty at 5 CP, but I mean, what was the. You had the ice. It was ice lightning crystals, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, here's another crystal payoff. Choose a forward, deal it 8K, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's not.
And then select the number.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I mean, that's. It.
You're at least going to get one card.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps
The
against.
biggest threat.
It doesn't choose, right? It doesn't choose any of those forwards. So, in the case of Gigawall, um, forwards of cost 3 you control, this forward cannot be chosen by your opponent summons or abilities. So, we don't choose here. So, it does help get around some of the 3 cost spam that we get with Gigawall. Now there is the whole problem of Yuzuki. That is not great. So basically, fire forwards, if they're dealt damage, it becomes 0. So it doesn't really help if they have a bunch of fire forwards with Yuzuki out. But I mean, still cool. I
Yeah,
think I
for
think
sure.
it might see some niche play. Probably not
Yeah, it
much.
possibly could.
Moving on to your Class 0 cadets over here. We have Sice. If you control 2 or more Job Class 0 cadets, the cost required to cast her is reduced by 2. No clause that it can't be 0, so that would be interesting if there's a situation there. When she enters the field, choose a forward. If its cost is equal to or less than the number of Job 0 cadets you control, break it.
Um, Very cool card. I like it. I definitely will run this in my Class Zero deck. Uh, the old size, I think it is an upgrade from the old size. The old size is like a 2 drop that upon attack it deals 1,000 or I think it may reduce something by 1,000 for each Class Zero cadet you control every time it attacks.
Mm-hmm.
I just think this is right out better. Uh, Paying 1C to possibly crack something for if you have 4 out there, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
definitely
think
going to be a 3 of in my cadets.
yeah, that feels strong for cadets. It really does.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have to be. I mean, like, how many Job 0 cadet backups are you running?
Well, after this set, we were talking as if it might go up to like at least 3.
Okay. So then,
So,
basically, just
uh,
for her and the backups you're playing, that's a CP4 or less.
mm-hmm. Because you'll have Crater, you'll have the new Machina, you also have Trey. So
Hmm.
that's 3 right there.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I think that's a good card.
Yep.
For a common. That's a
Yeah.
damn good card for a common.
Yeah. It will definitely be foiled and put in my Class Zero cadets.
All right, so next we have Cipher. Cipher, however you want to pronounce it. I always said Cipher. 3 CP, 7K, so we're pretty much in line there. This is obviously very synergistic with the rest of our Category 8 stuff. So when he enters the field, you can put the top 2 cards of your deck into the break zone. When you do, choose a Category 8 forward other than Cipher in your break zone and add it to your hand. So some very nice recursion there. Definitely, if you move to attack phase with Squall, play this on the field. Basically, mill 2 and then add something to your hand. It's ready to go for next turn when you go to attack phase again. I think that's pretty good. I mean, it's going to become a very synergistic kind of churn of cards. But the important thing here is when Cipher attacks, you choose a forward your opponent controls. If you have 10 or more cards in your break zone, break it. Now, obviously,
Yes.
obviously, we haven't gotten to 2 of the other Category 8 cards, but just alone, you can see Cipher and Adia are both putting cards into the break zone. Now, Cipher, of course, is when he enters, so it's not like you can just mill him out. Adia is an action ability, which is very interesting, and I would like to call out, not that, it's a light forward. This lightning. So when lightning attacks, choose a forward other than lightning. You can, or just one forward other than lightning. You can return it to the hand. But for the cost of 1 and putting the top 2 cards into your break zone, choose a forward, dull it, or activate it. So basically, this kind of helps you self mill if you're into that. But we also have some other millers coming up, anyways. So, what are your thoughts on Cipher?
I think it's going to be. I think Cat 8 is going to be a strong deck in general now. Uh, just like I said, you're going to have to be running 3 Mist Dragon and trying to get rid of the break zone. Don't let it add up. Don't let it stack.
Yeah.
Um, and to be honest with you, playing Neo X Death almost feels it's good because it stops them from setting up, but they're sending characters to the break zone. If you ain't gonna do nothing about it, they're gonna just benefit off of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, not sure how you're gonna beat it. Definitely need to do some play testing when we get our hands on these and just see what we can do.
Yeah, I'm super excited for Cat 8 in general. It's since we got into this game, I have wanted Cat 8 to be strong because it's my favorite game. I think I said that last video, but it's by far my favorite game. And I've tried making it work, twice now, I think. And it's got legs. It just doesn't run very fast is the problem.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll get to some more here in a second. Next, we have Selkie, which is our standard unit backup. The 1 CP does the exact same thing. When she enters, look at the top card. You can place it at the bottom if you'd like. I don't think there's much to be really said there. Next, we have Deanna. I don't know how you want to pronounce it. She is our other Warrior of Darkness. 3 cost 7k, so kind of in line there. When she enters the field, due to an ability, you draw a card. You can dull an active Warrior of Darkness. Choose a forward and dull it. So,
Along with the other ones.
yeah, I mean, it's just meant to literally be synergistic with the other ones. I personally think that's fine. I just don't see myself playing that deck at all. I just don't find that interesting. I guess maybe Earth Lightning Chaos Arc, but like, man, I still can't get over that 9 CP knocked. I just don't know. I just don't know that I want. I mean, yeah, he's going to refund 3 cards back to your hand. So effectively, he cost 3 CP, right? And then every turn, you can basically play one onto the field. Mm-hmm. But I feel like Gigawool just does that so much better.
Yes, for sure.
Like, the card pool of 3 cost is obviously way wider than the card pool of Warrior of Darkness. And the effects of these Warrior of Darkness just don't feel worth the payoff to me.
Yeah. To me, I would much rather pay 5 CP for, what is it, Tavis?
Yeah, Tavis.
To get 1 warrior and then play it for free.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because most of those warriors have better effects.
Yeah. Not a fan.
It's okay.
So, moving on to Drace here. 3 CP backup. He is Job Judge, but he is Category 12. When he enters the field, you can search for a forward of cost 2 or less and add it to your hand. So, I'm not 100% sure what, at least in this set, they were making this go for. I mean, he is Cat 12, so maybe they wanted him to search for something specific. Maybe it's this ninja here. But anyways, I mean, a general searcher, forward of 2 or less, is perfectly fine. It works perfect in 13, oddly enough. I don't know. I mean, that's not horrible, but it's very generic, and that's perfectly okay.
Mm-hmm.
Next we have Ninja. So standard unit forward, haste. If you control 2 or more job backup, standard unit backups, Ninja gains 4k. So 2 CP, 8k is obviously very good, especially if you factor in the haste to that. Category 5, man, I'm just calling it out. I mean, do we? I personally don't include this
Race and diffusion.
Well, yes, of course, but what? I mean, do we even get Bo to play this ninja? Standard unit backups.
Oh no.
I mean, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think we do. Yeah, so if it's all right, we can kind of just bounce Fujin and Raijin both at the same time really quick. So basically, both of these cards do the same general concept. So if there are 10 or more cards in your break zone, the card name Cipher forward and the job disciplinary committee member forwards you control gain 2k and first strike. So essentially, Fujin is going to give Cipher plus himself and Raijin, first strike and 2K. And then Raijin, if there are 10 or more cards in your break zone, he gives Seifer, himself, and Fujin 2K and haste. So very, very similar to the Opus 18 Fujin Raijin Seifer kind of package that we got there. But both of them have, when they enter the field, put the top 2 cards of your deck into the break zone, which again is just literally fueling the break zone. And then when Fujin or Raijin himself is put from the deck into the break zone, you can play them onto the field from your break zone. So that's very interesting. Yeah, literally Lightsworn, right? So, obviously, Seifer entering the field is going to start to mill. Fujin, when he enters, is going to start to mill. Raijin, when he enters, is going to start to mill. And then you get all these like payoffs for just milling them, but because they get to be played onto the field. I mean, that's synergy. That's what we're going to call it. Plus, potentially making themselves 9K with haste and first strike. And then making our Seifer here 11K haste and first strike. That's pretty gnarly.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know if you said that or if you were gonna say that about the Don Corneo.
So
in the Ice Lightning.
One of the builds that I've been tinkering with, at least on paper, is a Don Corneo focused, like, get him out, mill 15, take a monster, or take whatever from the opponent, and then you're literally set up for all of these effects till the break zone gets removed or the game's over, right? So it's very, very interesting because that card is very synergistic when it's not, couldn't have been meant to be.
Yes. And then just like the odds hitting a Fusion and a Raijin off of that to get played for free.
Yeah.
Off the Don Corneo.
Yeah. And of course
and
they
have haste and first strike if you do that.
Oof. And obviously they had to include the you may play them from the break zone so that, it doesn't try to create any kind of shenanigans with breaking themselves and blah, blah, blah. It doesn't try to do anything stupid like that. So I like that. I think these cards are... I think they're a totally different package than the Opus 18 stuff. I got to thinking at one point, is there a scenario where we want to mix the Opus 22 and Opus 18 Category 8 cards? I don't think so. I mean, I think that the Opus 22 stuff is just all about the self-mill, and I think they all feed into that too well to remove some of those pieces.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think so. I think this is fine.
So next we have Moth Slasher. During this turn, Moth Slasher also becomes a forward with 7K. When he is put from the field into the break zone, you can search for a Moth Slasher of 2 or less and play it onto the field. Damage 3, he gains 1,000 power. So Monster Man, what do you think?
He's okay. I don't really play much lightning monsters. So when he's put from the field in the break zone, search for another one and play it once the field. So you just, I guess it's meant to attack to play another one. They gotta block it or just give you the free point of damage.
So you've been calling out Earth Monster. I'm just gonna call out again. Cloud Pod is real. Mm-hmm. This is literally Guido like fuel, right? We were just talking earlier about how, every single turn having something to do that with. You Cloud Pod this into a 3 CP forward, your Guido's going to gain 3 counters at the end of the turn. You also are playing another Moth Slasher onto the field that same turn. So then you can just next turn Cloud Pod into another 3 CP forward. Grab another Moth Slasher, and then you've now got 6 count, right? That's literally like a 3-turn combo to then I will draw 6 cards on my turn 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, that's not
Yeah.
bad.
No, definitely not.
So I
But
mean, it's
yeah,
it
that's
it's
okay.
got implications.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. This
Next,
Yak Roche.
yeah. So 3 CP backup, very in line with the name Yagrosh. Backups other than himself cannot be chosen by summons or abilities from your opponent. So Psycom is kind of relevant. We talked about Jill Nabat last time. She definitely is the searcher for these in some sort of way. Oh, well, gotta clear some stuff. Um, so when she enters, you search for a Psycom, add it to your hand. So, I mean, Ice Lightning truthfully already has a ton of like searching that it can do, but this, I mean, this does perfectly fine, right? It protects everybody else in terms of your backup line. It's not like there's a lot of backup hate right now, anyways, but maybe that's kind of
Yeah, I don't think
foreshadowing
so.
that we're gonna get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. He's okay.
Yeah. Next, we actually have another Psycom, which is Rydia. Rigdia? You got me on that one. So when he enters the field, he has a 4 CP backup, by the way. You're going to select two of the following actions. Choose a forward of cost 2 or less, break it. Choose one lightning character in your break zone, add it to your hand. So I do like the option to choose multiples here. Forward of cost 2 or less is slightly restrictive, but oddly enough, it hits category 13 pretty well, even though he is literally a category 13 card himself. So, yeah, and then a lightning character is good. I think I would have rather may have seen him be a 3 CP backup with the same effects, obviously, would be great. But even if you were to make it like a forward of cost 2 instead of 2 or less, I don't know.
Yeah.
4 CP seems hefty.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to see a whole lot of play.
Next, we have a 2 CP standard unit backup for Dragoons, which is Dragoon praise here. When Dragoon is failed, choose a forward until the end of the turn. It gains 3k and first strike. Then you can do the standard 1 CP, tap him, discard a lightning card, put him into the break zone. Choose one active forward of cost 5 or less, break it. So that I do like. I think that is actually pretty good.
Yeah, but it's good. Um, I do wish that this had maybe like a back attack, if it was going to include the first strike, or a haste, if not the first strike. I know you get haste off a lot of the other dragoons, like what's her name? Your dragoons will get a haste, but not all of them do have haste. So I think haste is quite important
Yeah.
with that as well.
Yeah, Barbara's oddly enough, Barbara, even as a non-foil right now, she's still like a $5 card. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Our last lightning card is Lulu. So Lulu was actually revealed, and she does have a very nice full art. At the beginning of your attack phase, during each of your turns, you may remove 2 summons in your break zone from the game. When you do so, choose a forward, deal 7k. You can also discard a summon, choose a forward, deal it 5k. So 2 CP 5k. She oddly enough reminds me a lot of Opus 16, I believe it was, the Braska that has the special that you can discard summons for.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 CP 5k summoner. Oddly enough, she also is a guardian, and being that she's a 2 CP guardian, the Yuna from the starter deck actually also can play her straight from the break zone. Choose one job guardian of 2 or less in your break zone played onto the field. So that's kind of interesting. I think actually Leon was talking about category 7 today, and category 10 today, and he really wants to try to make it a little bit more competitive somehow. And I think this gives the option to do that. The problem is that most of the other category 10 stuff is not in lightning. Like there's a very small subset of cards I feel like that are in lightning.
Yeah. It's an okay card.
Yeah, I think it's got the waifu tax truthfully. Because see, look, we're rocking Lulu, Seymour. That's all you got. So, like, as far as category 10 goes, there's not a whole lot of synergy outside of kind of like the water, wind, and fire elements. There's just not a ton of it. So, she's good, but she also has a really potentially high deck building requirement if you're playing a ton of summons, right? To be able to just discard summons to ping things for 5k. Oddly enough, she can ping herself if that's ever relevant.
That is true.
Maybe the Guido play again?
The only problem is, I think if you're playing Lightning, you're playing a lot of summon heavy stuff. You're probably going to be playing a Mana Black, and you don't really want to remove all your summons.
That is also true.
Currently.
Very, very true.
So I don't know where this falls, really, to be honest with you.
Interesting take. All right, so getting into water here. Blue Mage. It's we're starting out with our standard unit backup here. So 2 CP. When he enters the field, you may discard a monster. When you do so, draw a card. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. 1 CP. Tap him. Discard a water card. Put him into the break zone. Choose a monster of 4 or less in your break zone. Play it onto the field.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, that's
I like Blue Mage.
That's a little interesting. So, unfortunately, the first thing I thought of was like, what's that monster I want to like abuse? The first one I thought it was Puma. So we're looking at 4 or less. Yeah, no, it sucks. So honestly, none of the ones that are coming out in Opus 22. I mean, we haven't talked about Piranha yet, but I mean,
there's Phoenix there.
Yeah, Phoenix would be interesting.
I don't think there's nothing really that gives you that much.
I mean, it lets you grab your Evray and your Atomos if you ever had to get rid of them.
Yeah.
Although it's really hefty to be able to...
Costly.
Yeah, it's really costly to get those from the break zone.
Yeah. I don't see there being... There might be a monster out there, but... Octo Mammoth and Trapdoor, but... Ooh.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not seeing anything that I love, you know?
Nah, definitely not.
Maybe the X-Array, just so that you can plus.
Yeah.
Maybe Death Gaze? I like the idea of Death Gaze, honestly.
Yeah.
Break it back up, grab him, and just remove something. As long as he's there.
Yeah. I don't really know there being that much that you could get off of that. So
yeah,
maybe just get back a zombie. Keep the loop going.
Yeah. I guess you could get back a pot so that you can do that for a fourth time if you somehow have more pot targets. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's kind of like one of those like niche plays. Like maybe you grab, I don't know, something like Sahagin that bounces or something like that just because you need it right then and there, you know?
Yeah.
Next we have Agrius. So when she enters the field, she's a 1 CP 3K. She is a job knight, but when she enters the field, choose a forward of 3 or less your opponent controls. If you control 2 or more knights, return it to the hand. So potentially some 1 CP bounce, which is good. It has to be a forward of cost 3 or less, so it's not horrible. I definitely feel like there's other Agriuses out there that I would rather play than this. Damage 3, she does gain 4k, which is a 1 CP 7k, so that's actually pretty good, but eh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next
we have Anima. So choose one forward your opponent controls, remove it from the game. Your opponent draws a card. If the CP was to cast Anima was also produced by only produced by backups, you draw a card. So I feel like there's some interesting implications here. I, at one point in time, was working on a loop deck that just looped Mind Flare. And I feel like I could do the same thing with Anima. Like, if I...
Yeah.
Like, basically every turn just loop until they have no forwards left, although at the same time you're making them draw their own deck out. So, I don't know. I think the interesting thing to do here is if you were in some sort of loop scenario where you would just loop as they go to pass turn. That way you make them draw some cards and then they have to decide like what to do with them. I mean, it's a very shenanigans type of card, but I mean, even in a loop scenario, you just play Zidane to loop it, right? Take the card away from them entirely. Don't let them draw it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is literally choose one forward, remove it from the game. So it is also
It does.
bonkers good. Just in a
Yeah,
vacuum,
it
that's
does
good.
remove. Yeah, and water doesn't really have that much removal itself. It's got bounce, but then something will get replayed. So I
Right.
think it's good for water.
Yeah. And under the effects of Opus 1 Una, the one that reduces your water summons by 1, I mean, this literally becomes a pay 2 draw card.
Yeah.
That's also not bad at all. So
No,
I think
definitely not.
overall
That mono water.
it's definitely a strong card for water. I like it simply just because it's water. Next we
Same.
have Vaughn, your boy. I don't think you're going to be playing this one very much though. When Vaughn enters the field,
No,
choose a
just
forward your
alright.
opponent controls. If you control 3 or more job pirates and or Vikings, your opponent or it loses 8k until the end of the turn. So
I haven't
they
really played Vikings, so
well, I think they misprinted and they should have put Sky Pirate, not Pirate. But I mean, overall, this is it's more Pirate Viking support. That's cool. I don't have a problem with that. Um, Under the effects of Layla, right? Layla makes them all 8k. I mean,
yeah.
that's kind of cool. It's kind of cheesy. Um, I just don't know that it means a lot right now. Don't feel like it
Definitely not.
does.
I
Yeah.
don't think. A fun
So
deck to play,
yeah.
probably.
So 4 CP Warrior Light, EX Burst, which is nice. So when Warrior Light enters the field, you may search for one job standard unit and add it to your hand. If you control 4 or more job standard units, the forwards other than Warrior Light gain 2k. So he also has a special called Shield of Light, where your lights gains 5k power until he himself gains 5,000 power until the end of the turn. So, I mean, plus 5k is actually not bad. That makes him 13k. So that's pretty strong. But essentially, the EX burst, being able to just search for a job standard unit and add it to your hand, there's some implications there that we search for a backup if we need it. We search for a forward if we need it. I don't hate that, although this name clashes so hard with my current loop situation, so I don't like it.
Yeah. I think it'll go in a Viking deck and be okay to play.
Yeah. Next, we have Clavat, whatever. When she enters field, look at the top card of your deck. You may place it at the bottom. Gotcha. Next, we have Korea? I don't know. So she is a Job Knight, 5 CP, 9k. If a Job Knight forward other than herself you control is dealt damage less than its power, it becomes 0. So, some really good protection there. When she enters the field as well, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Play up to 2 Job Knights with a total of cost 4 or less. And return the other cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. So, that's really interesting. Because worst case scenario, she just plays 1 forward of cost 4 and then puts everything else back at the bottom. Best case scenario, she plays 2 knights. Maybe you got a 1 CP and a 3 CP. But the thing is that it's play up to 2 job knights. It could be backups. Maybe she is literally like a turbo backup engine. That could be interesting.
Maybe so.
Yeah. I mean, knights definitely have a lot of candidates for that, and I think that could be very interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Next we
It's
have
an okay card. I don't play knights.
Yeah, personally don't either anymore. Siren V from Category 5, basically. So, when 1 or more forwards you control are chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities, you may put the top card of your deck into the break zone. If the card put into the break zone is not a forward, cancel that ability. Or cancel basically the summon or ability. So that's interesting. I mean, obviously, when you're deck building, you build kind of a majority of the deck around forwards typically. Although in very recent wind water bounce decks, there's not very many water forwards. There's a ton of monsters though. So this actually wouldn't be bad for your earth water monsters possibly.
Yeah. I believe this just goes good in mono water. Just if you play it early, it helps you self mill a little bit in water, so you can go for your Lena Leviathan just a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like there's a joke to be made here about water lightning category 8 maybe. Anyways, so at damage 3, if she's dealt damage, reduce that by 1,000. So that's cool. Next we move on to Severo. So at 3 CP backup, when he enters the field, choose a forward of cost 4 less your opponent controls. Return to the hand, then gain a crystal. For the low cost of 3 water and 2 colorless, tapping him and putting him into the break zone. So 5 CP plus himself being tapped and putting him into the break zone. Super heavy. Choose a forward, put it at the bottom of the owner's deck. What do you think? Go ahead.
I think that's a lot for that. Yeah. That bottom decking something.
Yeah. I feel like they could have.
I guess.
Go ahead.
Oh, I guess just bouncing something's like classic water, but and gaining crystals. So I mean, I guess if you're gonna run place it was at, there's a way to gain a crystal. You're probably gonna be running Ramada.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So uh, it's okay.
I feel like this card could have been so much better, and they knew that they didn't want it to be better. Because I mean, you could have just put a special on this guy, right? You could have. I mean, even if you made it 3 water plus a special and tap him, like, don't make me put him into the break zone. But even then, like, effectively, I'm spending the same amount of CP, plus I have to tap him. But then that creates a scenario where Glaciella is that much more important for him because then you can pay the crystal to be able to tuck something. And how often am I really going to be generating enough CPA to be able to pay that every turn multiple times? And do I have a way to reactivate him? Like, even if I'm playing Wind Water Bounce, like, how many times could I pay 3 CP and tap him to be able to tuck a card?
Yes, I don't think it's that great.
Yeah. Next, we have Chime, a 5 CP backup, which is crazy for just that one little chunk of text. But it is a decent chunk of text. It is an FFCC backup, so obviously Northstalin can search this. But at the end of each of your turns, if you control 5 or more backups, you just draw a card.
Um, I think it's if it's the 5th backup you play, not bad because you just literally tap 3 backups and pitch 1 card, play her, and then you're gonna draw that card back.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna draw more at the end of all the other turns.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's slow, but that's very in line with water for what I imagine water is.
Yeah.
Next, we have a 5 CP Paladin. Standard unit forward. 5 CP 7K is a little off kilter there, but has Brave. When he enters the field, choose a forward of cost 2 or less in your break zone. If you control 2 or more job standard unit backups, play it onto the field. I don't hate it, especially since I've been tinkering with standard units lately. Your Opus 2 Refia, Warrior Elite from Opus 8, plus the effects of Tilica, maybe. I mean, you're literally playing this for 1 CP, and you're grabbing a forward of cost 2 or less. Maybe you grab a Viking that enters the field, draw a card. I mean, there's something there. It's not much, but I mean, overall, I don't think it'll ever see play. But there's some niche, weird stuff that you could do with it. Piranha here, during your turn, also becomes a forward with 4K. When it enters the field, choose a forward your opponent controls. It loses 2K until the end of the turn. At damage 3, when it's put from the field to the break zone, you draw a card. So, possible realm target or no?
I don't think so. I mean it's 1 CP monster, but I think there's probably better ones out there. When he enters the field, choose a forward your opponent controls. Lose power until the end of the turn. Yeah, that can be good, but you're gonna have to stack that with something else.
Yeah.
And when he's put from the field in the break zone, draw a card. I guess what are you gonna do? Just blindly attack, and then if they block it, just draw a card. I'm not sure what they're going for with this one.
Yeah. Next, moving on to Ferris. So when Ferris enters the field, she has a 2K, or sorry, a 2 CP backup, by the way. You can remove a forward that you control from the game. When you do so, your opponent selects a forward they control, put it into the break zone. So you are sacrificing your own forward for them to sacrifice something of theirs. It is nice that you don't choose their forward, you only choose yours. So in a situation where they're sitting on Neo, I mean, that's a decent removal option there.
Yeah.
I mean, in any case where they're just sitting on one forward, I mean, it's not a horrible scenario.
Yeah.
I don't like the name clash though personally, so I would keep that to myself.
Nah, I guess it's just a pirate target as well. So
Yeah.
because of the names and pirate.
So next we've got Folka, which I actually was oddly enough looking at this card today, talking with Leon. 3CP 7K, which is right in line. She has the text though: remove her from the game. During this turn, your opponent may only declare attack once. I like that.
Huh.
I like the fact that I can just slow you down simply for 3 CP.
Yeah, especially if you're about to kill
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
then you just can't do one.
I literally
That can
need,
change the game.
I need one more card in Break Zone so that I can remove 12 and cast Levy. Guess what? I just bought myself another turn and I'm going to do it next turn.
Yep.
I think that's interesting. I do. At damage 3, she also gains during your turn. She can't be chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities, and also during your turn, if she's dealt damage, the damage becomes 0. So, I
Pretty
don't
good.
hate that. I like the whole idea of stopping combat. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Another Agito cadet
There
next.
you go. 2 CP Miwa. She has back attack, which is interesting. And then when she enters the field, activate all the forwards that you control and negate damage dealt to them. So, I guess just to call it out, just in case anybody doesn't know, obviously negate all damage dealt to them is a very weird way that they probably should, in my opinion, errata it into a different sentence. I don't know. But that basically just heals your forward. If that forward has been dealt 5k and they're banking on Brynhilder drawing a card, well, I just back attacked Miwa into play, and now your Brynhilder 5k damage is now healed. So, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Um,
Yeah.
Actually, I think what's more interesting
Yeah.
now that I think about it is attacking and then after,
Reactivate your stuff.
yeah, reactivating stuff and like making sure that I'm trying to think, could I attack, you declare blocks, and then damage calculation, there's a round of priority. I don't know. That would be interesting if there was a way to possibly heal the damage before anything severe happens to your forwards. Like
Yeah.
especially in a defensive situation too. You could play her and then basically negate the damage. It's essentially the same concept as Folka, right? You activate, you swing with a bunch of your stuff last turn. Great. You're open to attacks. And then you block one attack with one forward and they go to swing because they know they can at least crash into it, or you're not going to want this forward to die. Yeah, sure. I'll back attack this onto the field, activate all my stuff and heal their damage, block you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some
I can
implication
see
there.
that working.
Yeah. At damage 5, when she enters the field, all the forwards you control also gain 2k until the end of the turn, which just makes it even better. Cherry on top.
Yeah.
Moving on to Yuna. So we have a 2 CP summoner for 5k. When she enters the field during this turn, the cost required to cast your next card name, Tidus, is reduced by 2. It cannot become 0, unfortunately, but when a card named Tidus enters your field, choose a summon in your break zone, add it to your hand. This will only trigger once per turn. So there's some interesting implications with this. I know there was basically, as soon as this card got revealed, they were talking about Opus 10 Tidus and bouncing some stuff around with like the 4 CP Bart's backup that activates all your characters, and then you recur a Chocobo, and like there's basically like a net zero loop that you can do where you're drawing 2 cards, but then you have to spend those 2 cards to like basically play the Barts. So I don't know. I mean, I think there's something fun with this card. I just haven't found exactly what I want to do with it yet, but I think the card's interesting, especially with category 8 or category 10.
Yeah. It's possibly spoiler, but there's the Tidus limit break.
Yeah,
Also a way to reduce that.
yeah, for sure. I think actually
Yeah.
Leon was talking about making the category 10 stuff today, and I didn't think about it, but the Yuna, if you played like Fire Water category 10, the Yuna could just help recur the summons that Broska's gonna need for specials anyways. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of interesting. But anyways, over to Uni. When she enters the field, choose a forward, it loses 4k till the end of the turn, and then she has an action ability of dulling herself. You choose a forward, it loses 2k till the end of the turn. And that is a common card, kids. Straight up common. Our last water card is Lena, Princess Warrior Light. 3 CP 7k, so she is 7 CP Wollable. When she enters the field, if there are 2 or more different elements among cards that you control, draw a card. And then when she enters the field, if there are 4 or more elements among characters, your opponent selects the forward they control and put it into the break zone. So, obviously the way that this is worded, those 2 effects would trigger at the same time if you met both conditions. So it's not like you have to choose one or the other. Very, very solid card for 7 CP Woll, right? I mean, that's just easy. Now, I personally went with the crystal one because I liked being able to recur stuff from the break zone. And unfortunately, this does name clash very hard with the new backup that we just got, which was a wonderful backup. But I don't know. I still think it's got a lot of synergy in 7 CP Woll for sure.
Yeah, it could possibly.
So
Yeah.
Before we do the light, the dark, and the limit breaks, I was going to ask, do you want to do these as a separate video? Just since they're kind of like the hot topic, and then we can kind of brand it as a reviewing all the limit breaks.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. Do you want to do the light cards with the limit break?
Yeah, I mean we can, because there's also going to be the dark limit break right there.
Okay.
So we can just record the outro here. So I guess since Oscar gave the intro, I'll give the outro, I guess. So yeah, obviously the back half of our elements there, I'm kind of partial because it had lightning in it, which has all the Cat 8 stuff. Do you feel like the front half or the back half was better in terms of, did you like fire, ice, wind better, or earth, lightning, water better?
Earth, lightning, water. Being I play earth and water a lot. I just think they have a lot of strong cards, especially with all the FF8 stuff. And then I'm looking for that Guido But yeah, I do think FF8's going to be strong in general. I
Yeah.
think this was Lightning's set for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of FF8, we'll get into a little bit more of that with Eden in the next video. We're going to cut it here because this video is pretty long as is. We'll do another video where we talk about the limit breaks and then the light and the dark cards. That way we'll have a little bit more time to actually go through the limit breaks themselves and talk about implications and kind of different things with that. So let us know what you guys think about the Earth, Lightning, and Water cards from Opus 22. Let us know what you think down in the comments below. And yeah, see you in the next one.
See you guys.